Hello, everyone. You are now listening to Hashtag 135. I am your host, Alexis Appleby, and today we have Mr. Bland, principal of Jordan Elementary School. However, Mr. Clark cannot make it to this episode.
Where is Mr. Clark today?
I don't know where Mr. Clark is.
He's a busy guy.
Yeah.
He must be doing something in the district somewhere other than...
Jack of all
It's a jack of all
We're
trades.
having some musical difficulty here.
Push it harder.
I can't get that thing to go off. I wanted to play this sad trombone, and then that didn't work.
Wah, wah, wah.
Just imagine that. Yep, that's what it would sound like if I could get it to play. But hey,
We will miss Mr. Clark today.
we will. We will.
However, we do have an interesting guest here today.
We do.
Alexis, you want to introduce him?
I do. This is Mr. Mike Cooley. He is a teacher at Centralia Junior High School. How are you doing today,
Welcome,
Mr. Cooley?
Michael.
Pretty good.
Good. And you know what? Mr. Cooley actually wears several hats here at the district, right?
Yeah.
So you teach government and society, right? Government
Yeah.
and society, okay? And then you're the robotics coach, okay? And then yearbook sponsor.
Wow.
Okay, now I'm probably missing some other things though that I just didn't see, but I'm sure that you do.
Daily
Chess.
announcements. I do daily announcements.
Oh, that's right. You told me that. Okay.
And then I have chess club that runs in the spring.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And then
Then outside of school, tell us about your work at Centralia High School.
I was asked to help with the soccer team this year. Not that they need it, but always good to have an extra set of eyes. But I am the new assistant coach there at the high school soccer team. Or is that better?
That's
Yes,
better,
yeah.
Michael. That's
I
better.
used to to lean back.
It's awkward a little bit at first, but then you get used
Takes
to
some getting
talking.
used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also the union president.
Oh yeah.
He's a busy guy.
You are busy.
Threat assessment team,
Threat assessment.
along with me.
A couple other teams too, but it's the hardest part is finding your balance, and so I'm still feeling very balanced. And thank goodness my wife is helping out at home. whenever I'm not there.
His wife teaches at Centralia High School.
Yeah, I got to meet her actually at not parent teacher conference, but open house back in August.
Yeah.
Yep.
Language arts, is that
Yes, teaches the freshman and the sophomore honors. So
awesome?
yeah.
And would you say
Yes.
she kind of paved the way for you in teaching?
I wouldn't say. It's weird because
Mr. Cooley is ex-military also, so he had a
Yeah.
previous career prior to education.
that's
So
where I actually found
tell
out
us,
I liked it.
tell us about that, Mr.
Yeah.
Cooley.
Well, when I was growing up, I had a real bad home life, and so school was kind of like my safe haven. You come to school, you get
Right.
hot meals. It's warm in the winter and cool in the summer. At home, my father and I had a very tenuous relationship, and so it was a way for me to escape the physicality of that. And so, I came to school, really loved school, and then about sixth grade, my parents got a divorce, and so I started acting out at school, and I did some very, very bad things. In fact, one year it was so bad that the principal had to deal with me. Every day I was bad, I got a spanking from him, and then my dad when I got home, and every day I was good, I got a candy bar. And so there was 1 year where I got 3 candy bars. That was it.
Only 3, huh?
Only 3. And the things that I had done back then would probably get me expelled today.
Right.
But
right.
Psychologists would probably say that I'm trying to fix my childhood by being a 7th grade teacher. But
It's good.
Well, I think that sometimes, and I see this just like with me, I always think back to math class and how I was not, my dad was an accountant, but I was not a mathematician, but I always felt like I could teach math relatively well because it didn't come easily to me. And so I think that maybe with your background as well and the things that you've experienced, maybe you're better able to reach some of those students who are struggling and need that extra guidance and help. So
yeah, I have my way of doing it. There's a lot of teachers that also have the same success without the same backstory, but everybody does their part, You do the good you can do. That's the saying.
So that's kind of how you got into.
That's how I started kind of that direction, and then I had this 6th grade teacher who got in my face because I was on my way to failing 6th grade a second time, and she's a little bitty old lady, and she's like, "You're better than this," and it just kind of got me to my core. And so from then on, was I the best student again? No, but I did enough to get by. If I liked the teacher, I did really well. If I didn't, I didn't try very hard, but it was enough to get me. And then my mom didn't go to college. Neither did my dad. So for her, the idea of success was college. Go to college, go to college, go to college. Well, I'm not super big, so I wasn't going to get athletic scholarship. My grades weren't great, so I wasn't going to get that. So going into the military was kind of a way for me to try to reach the next tier of success as far as my definition was. And so I got into it. They wanted me to fly Apaches, but I was like, I'll stay on the ground.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. And so the thing that was weird was the Army's a lot like school. Like you go to classes every day. You either pass or fail.
True.
One of these tasks. And so knowledge was really the currency. And the more knowledge you could consume, the higher you went up the ladder. And so, like, I love to learn. And then in turn, I learned that I love to teach. Now, that took me 10 years to get my 4-year degree because of deployments and all that, and a different major at first. But, like, that's where I fell in love with teaching, was in the Army, because I was at one point teaching like 300 guys on the weekend.
Oh, wow.
Different tasks and stuff. And so I didn't know how to be a teacher, but I knew I wanted to be. So I went back to school, get the degree. At the same time, my wife was already becoming a teacher. And I learned more from watching her do lesson plans and even getting her reading endorsement and everything than I had learned in a lot of the classrooms, just seeing how a teacher operates outside of class and outside of a classroom, and the different ways that when you're learning about the process of how to teach someone, the pedagogy, like what goes into that, it's pretty eye-opening. So was that the original question?
Yes.
I think so. And then you went on to do your student teaching at Jordan Elementary School with Mrs. Lori Miller, didn't you?
Oh, that was an observation.
Oh, that was observation only.
No.
Okay.
Were you the principal?
I've been the principal forever, so yeah, it was me.
Yeah, I observed.
That was just observation work.
Yeah.
I remember you being in the building quite a bit.
I
So.
actually got to observe Miss Becker back when she was a teacher.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was she ran a very
Well, that makes sense.
very tight class.
That makes sense that you did your student teaching at the junior high level.
Yeah.
Then.
And
Okay.
I observed Mr. Hill. He taught me a lot about student expectations. Miss Burden about student interactions. I've seen some really good teachers. Even Mr. White, I was there for a while, and he taught me a lot about organizing lessons throughout the throughout the year, and balancing, what you grade, what you don't grade, and all that stuff. So I took pieces of all that from our district, and it was weird because the first time I observed here, I was like, I have to teach at this district. This has to be where I end up.
That's great.
And so I was actually waiting on a position from here and another school in the area. And to get to this school, I had to do a year basically in school, being the in-school supervisor.
Oh, okay.
So,
I think I remember that now.
Yeah. And I actually worked at the annex for a little bit before that, so I learned some good stuff there.
I bet you did.
Yeah. And then, did my year, and then a teacher had to leave, like in the first month, and I got to take over for that. Mr. Tron Young tapped me on the shoulder for that, so I owe him that. And ever since then, I started out, the class was me and Mr. Cook. We're split in social studies, 7th grade. He did 6th grade science at the same time, and then I did a reading class, basically. And then that changed, and so Mr. Cook took all of the history class, part of it, and I took basically the government and the job training skills and stuff. So that's kind of what I teach now, is more like civics and being a citizen. So
that explains kind of the patriotic theme then in your classroom. I was in your classroom the other day. That makes sense now.
Yeah.
Very patriotic.
Very patriotic.
Flags
Stars,
everywhere.
flags.
Makes it easier.
Yes,
That very kind of
yes.
feel.
So how many
yeah.
years have you been teaching then?
If you count just in a school district, I think it's 8 or 9. 2013, I think I
That
started.
was probably around that.
Yeah. I mean, in the Army, I was in 13 years, and I probably taught most of those.
So we have talked about education. We talked about his military background. We talked about all of the many things that he coaches and is leading at the junior high and at the high school. My question for Mr. Cooley is, some of you may know this, some of you may not know this, but we have been in a band together called The Administration. Along with
I love it. The administration.
Mr. Clark, our superintendent, myself, Pastor Jeremy Martin, who is one of our board members.
Okay.
And where does this musical? Michael plays the bass. He's a bass player. Where do you get this talent?
Well, my dad was a lifelong musician. He played all kinds of different instruments. even before he passed on, he'd even picked up playing the steel drum.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Yeah, he could play.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Unique.
Anything he could play. He started out going to Sandoval, and he started there with clarinet, and then just kept adding one piece after another, and so it was weird because like he never pushed it on us, so I didn't really pick it up until I heard a song from Smashing Pumpkins in
What song?
16. I'm not good with titles of
Okay.
songs.
You just knew it was Smashing Pumpkins.
Here's another side note here. Mr. Cooley and I, along with Mr. Martin and their wives, we participated in a music trivia contest, I guess is what it's called.
Is that local?
At the high school last spring.
Oh, this was recent.
And I think we all thought we were very musically, no, we are not. We were kind of
It was not fair.
stumped
It was
quite a bit.
like you should have been studying
Well,
music
I was
history
just
your whole
thinking-
life.
I was thinking I'm going to just knock this out of the park, and it was fun.
What were some of the questions?
Oh
They
gosh,
took a picture up of an instrument that like I'd never seen.
Yes.
And they're like, "What's the name?
What
of
is the name of this
And
instrument?"
Who invented
And-
it in what year?
it
Oh,
was
goodness.
pretty intense.
Golly.
Yeah,
So were you in there with music majors that probably would have known?
there were some hardcore trivia players. I think that go to all these trivia
Local
nights.
rivals. Yeah, there's a
Gotcha.
couple.
So it's
they
not
were-
all
it was
local
pretty
people.
hardcore, but we had fun. But it was not. I mean, I was thinking, like.
More relaxed, laid
Who
back.
wrote this song?
Who wrote this song in the
So-
80s? Who performed this? Yeah, that wasn't.
Yeah, that
it
was
a
like
little
one
more.
section out of the 10 sections. Of the trivia night.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, and there was like
So,
stuff like you couldn't.
That was
miss.
just a
Yeah,
side
that's
note. I
it.
had to add that. So
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. And so we had a high school band when I was a kid, and I sang and played guitar in it, actually. And then, my dad's relationship kind of I pushed that away, the music stuff away, and then I brought it back later on. And so
he's very good.
if you walk in my room now, there's like a bass in
Yeah.
the classroom. There's a bass and 3 guitars right now. And then this summer when we did summer school, we did the elective class, and me and Miss McFall kind of teamed up. And
Yeah.
she taught rhythm, basically like drumming and stuff, and I taught guitar on one of the days.
That's awesome.
And we're going to try and push that in more. She's
We need
supposed
more
to
of
come in
that.
this Friday, pushing into my classroom, and she's going to start teaching rhythm to the kids. And we actually discovered this one kid. Can I say their name on here? The first name?
You can say that
The
first name.
name, yeah. 'Cause
Marcus, and he's like a naturally gifted drummer. So if we can do that and help discover, some of those hidden talents to get them involved in stuff, it might pay off in the long run for sure.
I hear
definitely.
you. Unless there's opportunity and exposure to the arts, a lot of times these kids, the talent goes unnoticed.
Yeah,
So it's nice to be able to tap into those
definitely.
hidden talents that we knew nothing about.
And just being in your class in the summer, that what you were talking about with you, Miss McFall, going in there, the kids were very well behaved. Everybody's listening intently, and I got to observe the Flag Day presentation. That I got to even learn a lot. And I asked Mr. Cooley, I was like, "Are they always like this?" And he's like, "Oh, it's just summer school." No, I found out they are always like that in his class. Like it's very regiment. You got them in order, and they seem to respect him very much. And it was
Even
fun.
though-
I've
yeah.
learned a lot.
Even Oprah said that kids need boundaries. And
Oh, they do.
For us, for the teacher, it's just being consistent, like all
Exactly.
the time. Whatever you tolerate is what's going to happen in your room too. So I try to constructively challenge anything that I don't want to be present. And so sometimes it's just being like, hey, you're being an adult in 3 years. This is not adult behavior.
Right.
Like you'll be driving a car in 2 or 3 years, and that means you're an adult. So you're already 3/4 of an adult. So you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out quick.
Yep.
Do you feel like your background in history helps that a lot in the classroom, especially probably with some of the youth that has had probably similar troubles?
I think it gives me, I wouldn't say any special advantage over any other teacher, but it just helps me remember how much I hurt in those times. If that makes sense. And so to know that, and this is not something I've been good at over a long time. Mrs. Becker helped me kind of channel my, I don't want to say aggression, but I can be very intimidating. So channeling it into a way that helps students learn, hey, this was your choice. This was a better choice. Making them see that it could have gone better, would help. And this actually just happened last hour. A student said, "Who was that?" And one of the students goes, "Your mom." And I was like, "All right, come here, kid." I was like, "What?" It's like, I know you're trying to be funny, but like, you don't know what that kid's relationship with their mom is. What if you upset
Right.
them and really hurt their feelings on a level that they may not ever forget that moment? He's
Right.
like, "Oh," I said, "What would happen if that kid's parent passed away or something terrible
Right.
like that?" And he's like, "I didn't think about that." I said, "Well, why even put yourself in that position? There's a lot of other ways to do that. So figure it out." He's like, "Okay." So,
Teaching moment. He'll remember that for the rest of his life.
well, at least for a week.
But then when he gets older, it'll come back. It'll come back.
You plant the seed. You never know what they're going to do.
That's
with
right.
it.
Yep. And just one more thing. I think you guys need to get the band back together again.
We've heard that.
We've been hearing that a lot
Yes.
lately.
Yeah.
The talent show.
Yeah.
Bring it. I'm telling you, everybody listening, talent show.
We used to have a fundraiser each year for our Home to School Connection program that has not happened since COVID, I guess. So we're open to.
Okay.
And I hear we've even got a
possibilities.
drummer in the district now, Cedric Webster.
Oh yes,
Okay.
yes.
Here, yeah,
So you guys
That
were
would be
missing a
awesome.
drummer. So all right.
Yeah, we could.
So
All right, Cedric. I hope you're listening.
you've been volunteering.
Well, Mr. Cooley, thanks for coming
Thank you,
on the
Mr.
show. We
Cooley.
appreciate it, and we appreciate all the listeners that have been tuning in today.
Like us.
And like us, subscribe if you haven't yet, and we'll see you guys next time on #135.